Hello everyone. Hope all of you are doing well and your studies are on track. Now, in the last few months, roughly around let's say 6 to 7 months, we have witnessed two kind of news items. One, which is not so good about India. It definitely gave a sort of negative image related to some of the items that are exported out of India. But the positive side of that is that in the current budget, which is budget 2024, the government of India has made some announcements, which is sort of step in the right direction. Now, I feel that when we prepare for an examination like UPSC, one should not be only concerned with what is printed in the newspaper or in the budget, but one should definitely have a background of why it happened, what is going to be the repercussions, which means that we should be completely analytical in our approach, even if we are doing current affairs related news item. So I have designed this particular lecture for you so that you understand what is the announcement made by the government of India in the budget 2024 and what is the context and what actually is the larger picture that the government of India is trying to achieve through all these announcements. So the name of this theme that we are going to cover in this particular lecture is food processing industries in India. But as I told you that government has made some announcements in the budget, so let's start from the positive side. So guys, if you look at this year's budget, the government of India has divided the budget into some important pillars. So basically, let's say there are 9 pillars in which the budget has been divided. The first pillar, which the government talks about and says that this is the priority that government is trying to achieve, is called as productivity and resilience in agriculture. That's the first priority. In this priority, in the budget 2024, the government of India has introduced 3 specific points, which is a matter which we are going to discuss today. The first point is, government says that they want to improve research and development in the field of agriculture and related activities. What are related activities? So for example, if you cultivate rice, if you cultivate wheat, cultivate tomatoes and potatoes, that's agriculture. But if you convert tomatoes into tomato ketchup, that is called as related activities. So which is allied activities. So the government of India says that we want to promote research and development in the field of agriculture. And how would the government promote research and development? Obviously with the help of private sector. So that is the first point, right? Second point. Now let's look carefully about the second point, which is very interesting. Here the government says that vegetable production and supply chain. Now, I'll tell you what supply chain is, but let's have a look at it from a very normal perspective. So government is saying that we will promote FPO, cooperatives, startups for vegetable supply chain for collection, storage and marketing. Now imagine this, that I am a farmer, I'm growing tomatoes. You are in industry and you are converting this tomato into tomato ketchup. What would you require? You need a farmer who can supply you tomatoes, and then you need somebody to help you with electricity, water, permissions, research and development, so that you can establish a factory so that you can convert this tomato into tomato ketchup. So the government of India is saying that this factory which produces tomato ketchup does not have any meaning. In fact, it cannot produce unless there is an arrangement so that you can take this tomato from agricultural field farmers towards the industry. So all the steps which are involved in taking this tomato from the farmer towards the industry is your supply chain. So government of India is saying that they are going to improve the supply chain. And you understand that once the supply chain improves, we can easily convert this tomato into tomato ketchup. So that is the main theme. Now, these 2 points are very crucial because it not only helps the farmers to sell their crops, it also helps the industry to get the raw materials. Next part. You see, the government has mentioned in the budget that the shrimp production and export, government is saying that we are going to provide financing for shrimp farming, processing and export will be facilitated through NABARD, National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development. What does NABARD do? It is the job of the NABARD to arrange finance for agriculture and related activities. Let me give you a perspective of what is the meaning of this point. What this point says. See guys, what is this? This is shrimp. Now, India is one of the largest producers and exporters of shrimp in the world. In fact, if you go to US market, 40 to 45% of the shrimps that you get in US is from India. So government of India says that India is one of the best countries in the world when it also comes to aquaculture or marine products, right? So government is saying that if we provide more money to people who are in the business of shrimps, not just for India, but also for export, or maybe there are some people who convert this shrimp into processed shrimp. So government is saying we will provide them financial assistance as well as other support with the help of NABARD, which means again we are talking about agriculture and allied activities, which is agriculture plus food processing. So there are these three specific things which caught my attention in the current budget, and that is when I thought that we should have a complete understanding of it by going into the background and the entire framework of food processing industry. This is the positive. They always say that one should start at the positive note. Now let's go towards something which is not very positive. So have a look at it, please. So, if I ask you a simple question, can you please tell me that which is the regulator or who is the regulator in India related to banking? Any guesses? Yes, Reserve Bank of India, absolutely correct. Who is the regulator related to capital market? Obviously, SEBI. You're absolutely correct. Now, if I ask you a question, who is the regulator who makes sure that the quality of these processed food, this is tomato ketchup and this is pickles, who is the regulator who makes sure that the tomato ketchup, the pickle and the chocolates, these are processed food items which you are eating, it's of good quality and it does not contain anything which is toxic? Who is the regulator of making sure the quality is good and toxins are not present? So the name of the regulator is Food Safety Standard of India. And what do? They maintain the quality, safety and standard of food products. So they are basically the regulator. Now, where do they test these food items? There must be a place where they test it. So that place is called as food testing labs, right? So roughly in this budget, it is mentioned that roughly around 206 labs already exist where the Food Safety and Standard of India, they test these kind of food items. Almost more than 200 already exist. But in the current budget, the government of India has made provision for 100 new food testing lab. And why did the government do that? Let's go into the reason for this, because without reason, the government is not going to do anything for us. So what did the government do and why? Because see, what happened this year is there has been 2-3 negative news. First, Singapore and Hong Kong. What did they do? So they made an announcement one day that we are not going to consume Indian spices. Why? Because they said that in the Indian spices, they have found a chemical called as ethylene oxide, which is above the prescribed level. And they said it's going to create toxin. It's not good for human consumption. So there was a reaction against Indian spices across the world. We got a very bad name. Of course, it raises question mark against food safety and standards of India. Now, Nestle sells baby food in India as well as other countries like USA. So when a quality test was performed, it was found that the baby food sold by Nestle in India contains very high amount of sugar, which is not good for human consumption. But the same Nestle, when they sell the baby food in USA, the sugar consumption is low. But in India, the sugar consumption or the sugar that they put inside the baby food, that sugar is of very high level. So again, there was a question mark that how is it possible that since very long they are doing this in India? Now, there is a third news which has happened recently. But let me tell you a disclaimer that I don't teach you history and culture. And certainly I don't teach politics. So I will not go into the political aspect of it, the religious aspect, the history and the cultural aspect. I will simply go towards the quality aspect. So there has been a recent controversy regarding Tirupati, prasads and laddus that are being served there. So they say that a few things have been used here which should not have been used, right? So what does it tell us? It tells us that it's not about politics and religion, because there is no politics and religion here. So it says that quality, safety and standards of food that we have in this country needs to be improved over a period of time. One cannot play with lives. If you remove religion and politics also, keep it aside for some time, just purely on the basis of quality and safety, there are few things which are happening which is not acceptable, like this spice related issue. Or in fact, let me tell you that cough syrup sold by India in African countries, so the cough related medicines which India sold, they were also toxic because it led to so many deaths. So there have been question mark on quality products out of India. So that is the reason that government announced 100 new food testing labs. I think it's a welcome step, but more needs to be done on the ground, right? Now, that brings us to the basic framework of a topic which we are going to discuss today. The name of that topic is food processing industry, as I told you. So let's go into the details of food processing industry. So guys, don't you think that the first question that you should be asking to yourself and to your faculty is, what is the meaning of food processing? So let me give you the answer of food processing. So see, I'm going to show you a picture. Now see this, guys. What is this? Your favorite? Cashew nuts? But have you ever wondered where you get your cashew nut from? I'll tell you. You get your cashew nuts from this plant. This plant has this product which is cashew nut. When you pluck it, it looks like this. When you clean it, it looks like this. But there is a problem here. What is the problem? Too much of moisture. How do you remove the moisture? Simple. Either you put it on the terrace under direct sunlight. We are a tropical country. We have huge amount of sunlight. Or if you have a simple microwave or oven, you can put it and roast it, done. But is oven required? Maybe, maybe not. Without oven also, in sunlight also, you can actually remove the moisture. Because if moisture remains, then fungal infection will happen here. So the moment you remove the moisture, then this raw cashew nut, you can simply put salt, sugar, flavor, color, and you can package it. What did you observe? That you took raw cashew nut, raw cashew, let's say its price is 600 rupees per kg. Wow, 600 rupees per kg. Why? Because even if you take raw cashew, it's considered to be a premium product. Why premium product? Because this raw cashew already has, high nutrients, which is premium, considered to be premium, present inside it. So if you take such a raw material, which is already costly. Why? Because there is some nutrient which is already present inside it. Without using too much of machine, which means you don't need a factory, basic sun drying, you can convert this raw cashew into this kind of packet, which is processed cashew. This type of food processing, where you simply take a raw product which is already premium and then you convert it into something which is more usable. So its price will be roughly, let's say, 1400 rupees per kg. So what has happened? Premium item has become more premium, but you do not use too much of machine inside it. This type of food processing is called as value added process. So under a value added process, those items are taken which already have very high value inside them. Without using too much machine, you convert them into something better with a better life and better taste. That's your value added process. That's number one. Number two, now let's have a look at this, please. Now, what you can do is, to explain this method, so what did I tell you? What is the meaning of food processing? So I told you the first definition of food processing, which is value added process. The second definition of food processing is called as manufactured process. See, manufactured process. So if somebody will ask you define food processing, what will you say? There are two definitions. One, which is value added process, which I already explained, which is for cashew nut, almonds, groundnuts. And what is the second one? Second one is called as manufactured process. What is manufactured process? See guys, so for understanding manufactured process, you can do one thing. You create a big factory, right? This factory is called as food processing industry. In this factory, you please create 3 departments. The name of the first department is primary, then secondary and tertiary. 3 departments are there. What are these 3 departments doing? I'll tell you. So for example, let's say that we are creating a factory which will convert tomatoes into tomato ketchup. Can you tell me which are the states of India which are very famous for production of tomatoes? I can tell you. Any guesses? Okay, I'll tell you. Gujarat, Karnataka, Andhra, Odisha, Maharashtra. These are the states which are very famous for production of tomatoes. Gujarat, Karnataka, Andhra, Odisha, Maharashtra. Can you please tell me which are the states which are very famous for production of potatoes? So if you start from Gujarat, so that's Gujarat, then you have UP, then Bihar and West Bengal. These states are very good for production of potatoes. So let's take the example of tomatoes. Gujarat, Karnataka, Andhra, Odisha, Maharashtra. Now see what is happening. Suppose you are the owner of this factory. Where are you? This is you. You are the owner of this factory. What are you doing? You have to arrange tomatoes. Whom will you call? So let's say that you are bringing tomatoes from Andhra, right? So suppose that you bring a truck full of tomatoes. Do you believe that if you bring a truck full of tomatoes, all the tomatoes will be perfect? No, there will be some rotten tomatoes. So what will you do? If you have a truck full of tomatoes, so let's say this is your truck. In this truck, there will be tomatoes. From here, you remove the rotten tomatoes. So when you remove the rotten tomatoes, that is called as sorting. You have just removed the rotten tomatoes, right? After you remove the rotten tomatoes, only good tomatoes are left. Then you divide the good tomatoes on the basis of their quality. So if the tomatoes are very red and big size, you put them in one basket and say very good quality, second best, third best quality, fourth best quality. That is called as grading. Because see, every tomato doesn't look like this. Some tomatoes are very red, some are more greenish. So the red tomatoes are ready to be used. So you call them as the best quality. So grading. After you grade, what do? Then you put stickers over them, right? That okay, this is the best quality, second best quality. That is called as labeling, right? After you put the sticker, won't you take a basket and put the best quality tomatoes in one basket and seal it? So that is called as packaging. What are the four things we have done? Sorting. In sorting, what did you do? Remove the rotten ones from the good one. Grading. You divide the tomatoes, good quality tomatoes, into various categories like best quality, medium quality, like normal quality. So sorting, grading, labeling and packaging. So SGLP. Sorting, grading, labeling and packaging together are called as primary processing activities. So this is the first step that you do in your factory, primary processing. Okay, fine. Now, after primary processing, so guys, if somebody will ask you what is primary processing, what will you say? Primary processing contains 4 steps: sorting, grading, labeling, packaging, right? Now, what do you do to the tomatoes? Once you have done the sorting, grading, labeling and packaging already done. You take the best quality tomatoes packet and bring it to the next department, because the other quality is yet to become good. Suppose the tomato is green, it's good quality, but it's not red. So you keep it in refrigerator for a few days, it will become red. Then you use it. So those which are red, you take it out to the next department. Then what do? Clean it. You clean it, you sanitize it, right? You make it infection free, etc., etc., right? Now, there are methods which are available to us where you can pass certain rays through the tomatoes. They are not harmful for human body. You pass some rays through the tomatoes and all the bacteria and infection will be killed. You can also boil it. So when you pass a lot of rays to kill infection and to sanitize, that is called irradiation. So you pass some radiations and it will kill the bacteria and other infections. So then what do? You wash it. Then you boil the tomatoes. And after boiling, you put cold water over it. So whenever you boil something and immediately put cold water, the upper skin of the tomato gets removed, right? That is called peeling. So automatically peeling will happen. Then what is left? The pulp. Pulp is left, right? After you remove the upper layer, pulp. I can't show it to you in the class. Otherwise, it will turn out to be a master chef class. So you boil it, put cold water, peeling done, right? And then you have the pulp of the tomato left with you. Then you crush the pulp, put it in a mixer, crush it. Then you have tomato puree or tomato liquid ready. This is called as secondary processing. So what did you do in the secondary processing? You change the shape of the crop. From a solid looking crop, it has been converted into liquid. Plus irradiation, cleaning, right? Sanitization has already happened. This is secondary processing. Then you take the tomato puree or liquid in the third department and you add preservatives, you add color, you add taste to it, and then you do the packaging. That is called tertiary step. So primary, secondary, tertiary. Let me show you through the picture. See guys, so that's your primary department, secondary department, tertiary department. What happens in a primary department? Let's recapture everything. So in a primary department, the first thing you do is remove the rotten ones, right? So that is called as sorting. Then you put them in different compartments. That's called grading. Then you put stickers, labeling, and then you put them in various baskets called packaging. And what did you do here? Pulp converted into liquid. And what did you do here? You package them after putting preservative, taste, color, etc., etc. And after that, what happens in the tertiary department? Once the tomato ketchup is ready, then what happens? You give it to wholesalers. Who are wholesalers? Who take huge amount of packets of tomato ketchup. So it is sent to wholesalers. They have big godowns. Wholesalers will give it to retailers. Who are retailers? Grocery store owners. So wholesale and retail. So that is also a part of tertiary, right? So this is how your tomatoes are converted into tomato ketchup. So if somebody will ask you now, what is the definition of food processing? What will you say? You will say that food processing is a process of converting raw food into that kind of food which has better life and better taste. There are two definitions of food processing. First is value added process, I told you, where you don't need big machines. And manufactured process, where you might need some machines. That is manufactured process, right? Now, what are the various types of food processing in India? So just like I showed you, see guys, just like I showed you this is pickle, this is tomato ketchup, and this is your favorite 5-star, because you are star kids, right? So 5-star. There are various types of processed food. So first is fruits and vegetable, I showed you. So this is the first type of food processing. It is also called as component. So component and type are same. So fruits and vegetable, milk products, meat and poultry, marine products, grain processing, and consumer food. Your bottled water, tea, coffee, all these things are consumer food. These are the 6 types of processed food which is done in India. 6 types of industries related to food processing. Now, this question was already asked in UPSC. Last year, I think, yeah. In last year mains, the UPSC asked a question that elaborate the scope and significance of food processing industry. So guys, if I have to explain, so the question was elaborate the scope and significance of food processing industry in India. There are 2 important words, scope and significance. What is the meaning of scope and significance? See guys, this is suppose food processing industry. Question is, this industry manufactures tomato ketchup. UPSC asked a question that why do you think this type of industry can be established in India? All the factors which can help to establish this industry is called as scope. So can you please tell me what is the scope to establish this industry? Obviously you know it, you are smart kids. So there are 2 types of scope. First is raw material. You know that India is one of the largest producers of fruits and vegetable in the world. You name any crop, rice, wheat, cereal, fruits, vegetable, marine product, meat products, poultry product, our rank is 1 to 10 in the world. It's very simple. You name the product, our rank is under 1 to 10 in terms of production. India does not have a problem of raw material, isn't it? Yes. But why do you think India does not have a problem of raw material? Because our climate, our water, then soil condition, everything is favorable for various types of crops. So that is why raw material is not a problem for us. Labor force, by God's grace, India has a population of roughly around 143 crore. We have just beaten China, right? And at least in one thing, I can assure you that China cannot beat us now. In fact, nobody can beat us, which is population. Congratulations to all of us. I know you have not contributed, but still, right? Because we are number 1 country in the world in terms of population, by God's grace. So labor force is not a problem for us. Now, raw material is there, labor force is there, capital, cash. Yeah, of course we have capital. How do we get capital? Because the government of India has designed so many schemes where they provide capital. Banking system is also ready to help. Plus, next point which is important is government support. These are the factors which help us to provide inputs to the industry. But why do you think that there is more scope of this industry? Because India has a huge population, so there is a demand also. So what is the scope of this industry in India? If somebody will ask you, beta, what's the scope? What should you say? You should say, okay, what are the factors which can help us to establish this industry? There are 2 factors which are required to establish the industry. First, somebody should supply the inputs. So raw material is the input, labor force is the input, money is the input, government support is the input, right? And somebody should demand it. So there are 2 types of scope. One is supply of inputs and second is demand of output. So scope is there. What is the significance of food processing industry in India? Significance means once the product like tomato ketchup is ready, then what are the benefits that India can get out of this tomato ketchup? So guys, what are the benefits? So you know that employment can be created, isn't it, in this industry? Our GDP can rise, export will rise, farmers will get the benefit because farmers will directly sell the tomato to these industries, isn't it? So that is also there. Then our food security will improve. So if somebody will ask you what is the scope, what should you say? Scope means who are the people who provide inputs plus who are the people who will demand these products. That's your scope. And what is the meaning of significance? Significance means once tomato ketchup is ready, then what are the advantages that India can get? That's significance. So inputs is your scope plus demand of the product is your scope, and significance means what is the advantage that India will get. So this is how you had to answer that question in UPSC 2022 GS paper 3 mains. That elaborate the scope and significance. Now, if you just write these points in the exam, you will not get marks. The reason being, there is no data, there is no fact, there is no connection between any point. So if you are writing the same point as UPSC answer, you have to put in some data, you have to put in some facts, then your answer will become a brilliant answer. Let us see how. So guys, if somebody will ask you what is the scope of food processing industry, there are two types of scopes, supply and demand. What have we mentioned in the supply side? See, supply side we have mentioned that there is no problem of raw material in India. Why there is no problem of raw material? I told you, because our climatic condition, soil condition, agriculture condition is favorable. That is called as agroclimatic zones. What is agroclimatic zones? India has been divided into roughly 127 agroclimatic zones based on soil, temperature and climate. And every zone is suitable for a different type of crop. So we have 127. Some countries in the world hardly have even one type of zone, but we have 127. Plus we have a long coastline, 7,400 kilometer coastline, right? Which means that marine products are also not a problem. So raw material is never a problem. Remember shrimps, labor force is not a problem, government support is also there, right? Now have a look at the demand side factors, guys. See, if you look at the demand side factor, you can see that India is highly urban country now. Because from rural, we are becoming urban over a period of time. Very fast we are becoming urban. Now, there are 2-3 interesting things about India. India is becoming urban very fast. Number 2, India is very young. When a country is very young, that country is very ambitious. So even if I bring this digital pen in front of you and tell you, beta, this is a chocolate, many of you would like to try it. Why? Young, ambitious, we take risk. In these kind of countries, which are young and urban, a lot of companies would like to test their new products. So they will bring their new chocolates and they will say India test. Right. So young India, middle class. Roughly, 1/3 of India's population is middle class. And middle class people, the husband and the wife, they both work. They don't have time to cook food. So what will they eat most of the time? Maggie. Maggie is a processed food. Now look at nuclear families. What has happened? Parents are staying somewhere else. Children are staying somewhere else. Grandparents, children are staying somewhere else. So the son and the daughter does not meet the parents every day, and the parents don't meet their parents every day. So everybody is busy in their own life. That's nuclear family. So in a nuclear family, what do people normally eat? Processed food. So there is a huge demand. Now, taste and preference. There has been a research which has been done in developing countries of the world, and it has been found in that research that in last 30 to 40 years, in most of the developing countries, including India, there has been a change in taste and preference. What change in taste and preference? So initially, developing country like India, they used to love rice, wheat, and cereals a lot. Now, what are the developing countries eating? Instead of rice, wheat, and cereals, they prefer to have protein. They prefer to have fruits and vegetable. So this is a change in taste. Now imagine, guys, if everybody says, I need fruits, vegetable, mutton, fish, eggs, all these things. Do you believe that this can be sold in the market in the raw form all the time? Not possible, because they are perishable items. So what is the new taste of India? New taste of India is perishable item. And how do you sell perishable item? You sell perishable item through processed industry, food processing. So there is definitely a demand of processed food. Now, export potential of India. Why do you think India's export potential is good? Because India produces most of these processed food items at very low price and of decent quality, good quality, except some examples which we saw. So in India, since labor cost is not very high, and we are one of the largest producers of agricultural products because of raw material and labor cost. These two reasons, our product price is relatively low and quality is decent. That's why, there is huge demand of Indian products across the world. So that's your supply side factor. That's your demand side factor. These two are called as scope. So if UPSC will ask you what is the scope, you have to write all this. But guys, I have a solid jugaad for this. Don't you believe that writing that much will take a lot of space? How will you write it? So I think that you should use this diagram. So in UPSC, you can write this diagram. Scope of FPI. This part is your supply scope. See, 3 points already told you. And this is your demand scope. See, these two, right? Now, let's come to the significance part. What is the significance of food processing industry in India? See guys, I told you that in these kind of answers, you have to write some numbers, facts, reports, etc. So what is the significance? Means what is the importance of food processing industry for a country like India? So let's look at the first point, reduce post-harvest losses. Let me give you a figure. So Dalwai committee, they told us, this is from agriculture, okay? Dalwai committee has told us that in India, roughly 30 to 35% food loss happens every year. So if we are producing, for example, 100 kg tomatoes, example, not just tomatoes, but tomato, wheat, rice, cereals, everything. If you take all the products of India, crops of India, roughly 30 to 35% is wasted. Why? Our transportation system is bad, our storage system is bad, packaging system is bad, so it is wasted. Now, if you calculate the money value of these wasted items, it comes out to be roughly 92,000 crores. So every year, India is wasting 92,000 crore worth of food. Don't you believe that if this type of wastage is given to food processing industry, they will convert tomatoes into tomato ketchup? So wastage will reduce? Obviously, yes. And when wastage reduces, don't you think food security will improve? And to convert tomatoes into tomato ketchup, more jobs will be created. Why? Because this type of industry uses more people and less machines. These are the points we have written. See, post-harvest loss will come down, then you have to give this data. Second, what will happen? Farmers' income will improve. Why will farmers' income improve? Imagine this, guys. Farmers' income will improve. Why? Because normally, how do farmers sell their product? The farmers sell their product like tomato ketchup either in the village, in let's say weekly market. So if you go to small villages, there is weekly market, Monday market, Tuesday market, Wednesday market, or the farmers will take it to APMC Mandi, where they are exploited. Or if the farmers are selling certain type of crops like rice, wheat, etc., then MSP. But hardly 6% Indian farmers get the benefit of MSP, which means these three are not the good methods of selling crops, because all the three have problems. So a lot of farmers in India, they remain poor and they remain small. What is the amount of farmers in India who are small and marginal? So roughly 89.4% of Indian farmers are small and marginal farmers, because the marketing facility in India is not very good for all of them. Now imagine there is a food processing industry. What will this industry do? It will directly procure from farmers. In fact, this industry can sign a contract with the farmer called as contract farming and take the products. Now when the industry takes the product, it pays decent price. Transportation and storage facility is not the headache of the farmer, it becomes the headache of this industry. So what happens? Farmers' income will improve. When farmers' income improves, don't you think a small part of that money the farmer will use in improving his land also? Because the land where he's practicing agriculture, that also needs some money, like adding better quality fertilizers, using some machines or new technology, good quality seeds, all these things. So it improves farmers' income, and farmer can use the money to improve the soil, which can again in future improve farmers' income. That's the point we have mentioned. Farmers' income, right? Now, what is the contribution of food processing industry in India's economic growth? See guys, so roughly 8% of our GDP, suppose our national income is 100 rupees, out of that 8 rupees comes from food processing industry. 6% of industrial investment, suppose 100 rupees are invested in Indian industries every year, out of 100 rupees, 6 rupees comes from food processing industry. What is the contribution of food processing industry in agricultural export? So guys, imagine that you are talking about export from the field of agriculture. What is the contribution of food processing industry in agricultural export? Roughly 23%. So food processing industry contributes 1/4 to agricultural export. What is the employment created by them? So roughly 12 to 13% of the total employment of India is generated in food processing industry, which is huge. It's labor intensive. Now, it also provides solution to disguised unemployment. What is disguised unemployment? Disguised unemployment means, suppose there is an agricultural field. Here, only one farmer is required for cultivation. But how many farmers are there in this field? 1, 2, 3, 4 farmers are there. But we don't require these farmers because the field size is very small. I told you that roughly 89.4% of Indian farmers have very small land size. Now, in this small land size, these many farmers are not required, but they are still there. Why? Because they don't have opportunities elsewhere. So these 1, 2, 3 is called as disguised unemployment. So here the number of disguised unemployment is 3. So if you create a food processing industry, don't you think these 3 people can be absorbed there? Yeah, that's the point. Now, food security, I already explained to you. By reducing food wastage, you can make sure that the food is made available to everyone in the society. So food security improves forward and backward linkages. So if you create a food processing industry, it leads to forward linkage and backward linkage. What is forward and backward linkage, and how does food processing industry help there? Let me explain. So guys, see last point that related to that. See this, please. You see how many points have we written in significance? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to explain this 8th point. What is forward linkage and what is backward linkage? See, so what did we say? That if you create a food processing industry, it leads to backward linkage, it leads to forward linkage. What is backward and forward linkage? Now guys, suppose we establish a food processing industry. And what is this industry going to do? This industry is going to create tomato ketchups. Now see what will happen because of this. To manufacture this tomato ketchup, what do you need? Tomatoes. So anybody who helps this industry to procure this tomato is called as backward linkages. So anyone which helps this industry to get this tomato is called backward linkage, and anybody who helps this industry to sell this tomato ketchup is called as forward linkage. So now let us see what is the backward linkage created. So if food processing industry comes in our state, so let's say bacho that we all belong to particular state, let's say Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, in Nagpur, let's say there is a food processing industry. If there is a food processing industry, how does it help? Let's see. So if there is a food processing industry which comes up in my area in Nagpur, immediately the farmers will get the news, and what will farmers do? They will buy new seeds, fertilizers, etc. So the people who sell fertilizers and seed, their business will improve. Backward linkage. And what will happen? More farmers will start to produce tomatoes, etc. What are the different ways in which farmers produce crop? The farmers produce crop either individually, like an individual farmer, or they create FPO. What is FPO? Group of farmer, farmer producer organization, or they can also create cooperatives, right? What is the difference between FPO and cooperative? If farmers want to create FPO, farmer producer organization, they have to register their FPO under Companies Act with central government. Companies Act 2013 under central government. But if a farmer wants to create cooperatives, then they have to register themselves with the state government. That's the difference. So farmers can either sell individually or cooperative or FPO. Now, farmers will sell the crop to cold storage facility wala people or warehouses, and from there it reaches the food processing industry. So if somebody will ask you what is the backward linkage, you will say that seeds, fertilizer, FPO, cooperatives, then you will say that storage, transportation, all these things are backward linkages. What is forward linkage? Once the tomato ketchup is ready, then see what happens. Then the tomato ketchup reaches the packaging industry, marketing and advertising industry, where people like Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, Akshay Kumar, they will take these products and they will start to market it, isn't it? And then from here, through transportation facility trucks, it goes to wholesalers or it goes to retailers, and then it goes to consumer. So that's your forward linkage. So don't you think that because of food processing industry, everybody in the backward direction gets an opportunity and in the forward direction also gets an opportunity, right? Yes. So that's the last advantage. This is the point which we have just covered. Right, guys? Now, Let us try to understand what is the meaning of supply chain and what is the meaning of supply chain management. Remember, when I showed you the budget, here, I told you that government has mentioned in the budget priority area number 1, vegetable production and supply chain. Government is saying we will improve it. But by what is supply chain? Because unless we know what is supply chain, how do we know how it is improved? So let us see what is a supply chain. And specifically, supply chain related to food processing industry. See guys, there is a picture in front of you. I'm coming out of the frame so that you can see the picture. Please see the picture. Now look carefully. It says define supply chain management in food processing industry. So before we understand supply chain management, we should know what is supply chain. So guys, you can clearly see that this box is called as food processing industry, FPI. Now, suppose that in this box, tomato ketchup is produced. But the main question is, who provides the raw material for this box? What is the raw material? Tomatoes. Who provides it? So the answer to this question is farmers. So farmers are basically the raw material supplied to this box. So farmer becomes the first important link because from here comes the raw material. How does the farmer take the raw material from here to here? The raw material is taken from here to here through warehouse where it is stored, through cold storage and through transportation. So these three things are called as the tools. These three tools or instruments are used to supply raw material from here to the industry. The industry is called manufacturing industry. Why? Because it converts raw material into finished product, which is tomato ketchup. That's your finished product. When the tomato ketchup is ready, what do you do with this tomato ketchup? You take it to wholesalers, I told you, who buy bulk amounts. Wholesalers give them this tomato ketchup to retailers like grocery stores. But how do you take the product from here to here? Again, warehouse, cold storage and transportation. And from here, you give it to the consumers. How do you sell it to consumers? Either online or offline. Both the methods are there. You take it from here to here. Right? Again through warehouse and cold storage. So now UPSC might ask you a question. What is the meaning of supply chain? What will you say? Supply chain? Supply chain starts from arrangement of raw material to convert the raw material into finished product, then taking the finished product to distribution center, and from distribution center taking the finished product to consumer. All the steps involved, how many steps are there? 4. All the steps involved is called as supply chain. Then what is the meaning of supply chain management? The meaning of supply chain management is to plan all this, to implement all this, and to control all this. So when you plan, implement and control all the 4 steps of the supply chain in such a manner that the cost is minimized. What is the cost involved? The cost of warehouse, cold storage and transportation, the cost of production, the cost of distribution. All these costs have to be minimized. Otherwise, consumer will suffer. So when you plan, implement and control all these steps in such a way that all the costs involved here are minimized and the system becomes efficient, it is called as supply chain management. Now UPSC will ask you a question that what are the problems related to supply chain management in India? You are smart case, you know it. So the biggest problem of supply chain management is we don't have much warehouse, we don't have much cold storage. In fact, the cold storage is present only in some states of India. Hardly 7 to 8 states have all the cold storage. So warehouse, cold storage is a problem, transportation is a problem, road is a problem, research and development is a problem. Right? These are some of the problems. Basic water and electricity is also a problem. Packaging is also a problem. From here to here, you need packaging. That is also a problem. These are some of the problems. So, if somebody will ask you a question that discuss the challenges related to food processing industry, what will you say? The challenges related to food processing industry are first, lack of infrastructure. And what will you mention here? Warehouse, cold storage. Private sector participation is less because private sector feels that the profits are not very high in transportation, etc. They will not participate. They participate in bigger things, not these smaller things. Then electricity, water, road transportation is a problem. Second is lack of low cost and indigenous technology. Local technologies are not there. So even if it comes to refrigerator, we import the refrigerator, which is very costly. Then lack of skill and research and development. You know what is the level of skill in India? So roughly around 4.7% of India's workforce is formally skilled. What is the meaning of formal skill? The meaning of formal skill is that if you take 100 people who are in the workforce of India, 100 workers of India, only 4.7, which means 5 workers are skilled. Remaining workers are not skilled. Why only 5 workers are skilled? Because we don't have too much skill training institutes. So there is a problem related to this also. So many times what happens is the workers don't have skill. They add preservatives, which is much beyond what they should add. Sometimes they add preservatives they should not add. So out of innocence also they make mistakes. Then marketing and branding is very costly in India, and access to credit is a problem. When food processing industry goes to a bank and says, I need money, bank says, I can't give you money because you are a small industry. So they also face discrimination. So these are the kind of problems or challenges faced by food processing industry in India. But Bacho, you would have noticed that when we are talking about all this, see, warehouse is fine, transportation is fine. But did you notice that when we were talking about cold storage, I mentioned a point that only some states of India have cold storage. And then I also told you that there is a problem of infrastructure where we mentioned electricity. If there is no electricity, there is no cold storage. So government of India realized that India is one of the best countries in the world in terms of production of fruits, vegetable, milk, eggs, etc. We are one of the best in the world. And what is so common between them? They are all perishable items, and we are the best in the world in these items. You are the best in production, but you don't have cold storage. What will happen? Wastage will happen. So what did the government of India do? Government of India has designed a program to open cold storage system in India. Let's see what is the meaning of cold chain. So cold storage or cold chain means that when you provide controlled temperature type of atmosphere for storage and packaging and distribution of your food products, that is called as cold chain. So basically in cold chain, what do? You provide temperature controlled facility. Now, if you provide good refrigeration facility, temperature controlled facility, what are the advantages? First advantage is efficient storage, which means loss of perishable items will be less. Second is packaging will become easy because under refrigeration you can easily pack and you can easily transport. Transportation becomes easy. Through cold storage trucks you can easily transport. Distribution also becomes easy because you have cold storage trucks. Now, if these 4 factors happen because of cold chain, then what will happen? Wastage will reduce in India. What did I tell you? The L015 committee has said that 30 to 35% of the food products in India are wasted. So wastage will come down. Exports will improve and farmers' income will also improve. This is what will happen if cold chain improves. So basically, what is cold chain? Suppose I have created a cold storage facility here, then a cold storage facility here. Then I'm connecting these two through cold storage van. So when you connect a lot of cold storage facilities, that is called cold chain. Simple. Now, Government of India in the year 2007-8 started a scheme called as Integrated Cold Chain and Value Addition Infrastructure. What is happening under the scheme? So under this scheme, the Government of India is saying that when you take raw material from farmer to industry, industry to market, market to consumer. Remember, this is called supply chain. So when you take a supply chain of India, government is saying that under this integrated cold chain development, at every point, cold storage facility will be created at every point. So how many projects have been sanctioned? 199. And how many projects have actually been completed by now? 85. But sanctioned is 199. Don't you think more progress is required? Yeah, more progress is required. So guys, we have almost done the basic things that is creating a problem in the field of food processing in India. Now there is one thing which is left, which is again from current affairs, that what are the schemes related to food processing industry that the government had started. Let us do the schemes one by one. So guys, the first scheme that we are going to do is called as Mega Food Park Scheme. When did the scheme start? 2008 and 9, as you can see. Let me come out of the frame. So that's your scheme. Now, let me tell you a simple story. एक बात बताओ बच्चों, tell me something. If you want to buy a book whose price is 10,000 rupees, will you buy it? Of course not. Even I didn't buy when I was a student. So where do you read these costly books? When you know that book is very costly, you will read these books in a library. What do we do in a library? We go to the library, we pay a small fee, let's say 200 rupees. In Delhi University, I remember that when I was a student of Delhi school, so there my yearly fee used to be 415 or 20 rupees for 1 year in the library called as Ratan Tata Library. So very less fee. So you pay some fee to the library, then what happens? You go in the library, you will see a lot of books. Air conditioner is there, books are there, study tables, chairs, water, these things are available. So you go, you take the book, price 10,000 rupees, you make the notes out of it, and then you come out. Another student will come do the same thing. And for that you pay a fee. This is called library model, right? I mean, there is nothing officially called library model. I will call it as library model. So the government of India designed a library model because government of India started to ask everyone that, hey, can you convert tomatoes into tomato ketchup? Many people said, yes, we can. But then people told the government that government, we don't have money to purchase land. We don't have money to have our own factory. We can't buy machines. We are not that rich. We don't have the money, simple. But we have the caliber and the quality. So they told the government of India, government, if you can arrange a library-like place where all the facilities are there, we simply need to go there and put basic machines. If we have 1 or 2 mixers, refrigerator, we can put, or we can take our own raw material, we can take our own workers, and we can convert tomatoes into tomato ketchup, or we can manufacture chocolates. Then we would definitely agree to be a part of that place. So guys, what did the government of India do? Government of India spoke to state government. Central government spoke to state government because land is a state subject. So center spoke to state and told state that state, if you can arrange 50 acres, minimum 50 acres of non-agricultural land, then central government said that I am ready to give you maximum 50 crore rupees grant. So center would give a grant of 50 crore if a state government is ready to arrange minimum 50 acres of non-agricultural land. What is the use of this grant 50 crore? This grant 50 crore is used to create primary processing center. Guys, do you remember I told you what is primary processing? Sorting, grading, labeling and packaging, SGLP. That is called primary processing. So all the primary processing related activities can be done here collectively. Then there is a place called as Central Processing Center. What is Central Processing Center? So in this place, there are small facilities made, small factory kind of place where, you know, electricity, water supply, all these things are there. Basic machines will be there. You can simply go and convert milk into chocolates, tomatoes into ketchup, potatoes into chips, etc. You can do all these things. So this is for secondary and tertiary processing. What are these places? Collection centers. So these are the entry gates where farmers can come, cooperatives can come, farmer producer organization can come, and they can sell their raw material inside this place. This entire bigger place is called as Mega Food Park. So this type of facility where permissions are already given, center and the state have given all the permissions, common infrastructure, everything is ready. You just need to come and start producing. This type of concept is called as plug and play. Plug and play would mean that the basic setup related to infrastructure and permissions are already there. The producers can simply come and start producing using their raw material and their expertise. That is called plug and play. Plug and play is used a lot in industries and infrastructure, right? So how many mega food parks were approved by the government? 41. And how many are currently operational? 22. Why less are operational? Too many problems. Number one, land is not available in many states. Number two, infrastructure quality is not good. So these problems happened. Now, with a very heavy heart, I have to tell you, this scheme has been discontinued by the government. So whatever are approved and operational, they will work. But government has said that this scheme is not very good, central government, and they have created another scheme in place of this scheme. What was the problem in this scheme? The biggest problem in the scheme was that when 50 crore rupees was given by center, many of the state governments did not use the money to create good quality infrastructure. There were cases of corruption. Number two, in this place, I told you it's like a library where you have to pay a fee to the state government. So many times the fee was very high. So suppose I know how to convert tomatoes into tomato ketchup, I come here, the fee will be very high. So third problem was there all the facilities related to primary, secondary and tertiary processing is there, but marketing facility was not provided. That's another problem. So even if I create the best quality tomato ketchup, but when I go in the market, I don't have money to hire Shah Rukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan and Akshay Kumar to promote my product, nobody will buy my product. So these are some of the problems. So it was too costly, marketing facility not there, infrastructure condition was not very good. So in many cases, instead of non-agricultural land, the state government converted agricultural land into industrial land, which is not good. So these type of malpractices also happened. So this scheme was scrapped. This scheme has been scrapped 2-3 years back. Now, what is the scheme which has been created in place of this scheme? So in place of this scheme, the government of India has created another scheme called as a scheme for creation of infrastructure for agro processing cluster. In short, the name of this scheme is Agro Processing Cluster, APC. What is APC? So government of India now is telling the state government that state, you do not need to bring 50 acres of land. Just arrange minimum 10 acres of land. If you own the land, great. If you can take the land on rent, great. You just have to arrange minimum 50 acres of land for 50 years. That's the condition of the center. Then center says that at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because land size is small. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 processing center has to be created. Minimum 5. Now, to create this processing center, the central government is saying that the center will provide grants or help to the state government so that this facility, infrastructure facility can be created here. What are the two types of infrastructure facility in this 10 acres of land? Two types of infrastructure. One is core infrastructure. Bacho, what is core infrastructure? Core infrastructure means that infrastructure which is directly related to food processing. For example, warehouse, cold storage, sorting, grading, labeling, packaging. Remember, that is called core. And what is called as enabling infrastructure or supporting infrastructure, water, electricity, transportation, these are called supporting infrastructure. Both the infrastructures are there. But to create this infrastructure, the center is giving grant. What is the grant given here? Now, if this type of facility is created in a general area, plain area, then central government says that whatever is the cost of creation of this, whatever is the cost of creation of infrastructure or development of infrastructure. So let's say 100 rupees is the cost of creation of this infrastructure. So center says out of 100 rupees, 35%, which means 35 rupees will be given by central government as grant, plus the remaining 65 rupees center says that you can get it as loan at low rate of interest. So to develop this, the central government's help is 35%, which is grant, and remaining 65% you can take as loan. But if you develop this kind of facility in northeast area, then center said if 100 rupees is required to develop the infrastructure, 50% will be grant, 50 will be loan. But with a condition. The condition is that this grant part can be 35% of total cost, but subject to a maximum of rupees 10 crore. So more than 10 crore will not be given to either general area or northeast area. Now, let me show one calculation to you just for fun. This calculation will never be asked in UPSC, but for fun. Let's say that to construct this facility, 40 crore rupees is required, right? Now, let's say we are constructing this in general area, 40 crore is required. So central government says, I'll give 35% of 40 crore. So what is 35% of 40 crore? 14 crores. So center says, I will give 35% of this as grant, subject to maximum of 10 crore. So 35% of 40 crore is 14, but center says, I will not give 14, I will give 10. Remaining 30 you have to arrange from a bank at low rate of interest, which I will help you. But if you talk about northeast, then center says, I will give, so 40 crore is the total cost of a project. Center says, I'll give 50% as grant. 50% of 40 crore is 20. But again, there is a maximum which is 10 crore. So center says, no, but maximum 10. So I will give you 10 crore. So that is what the center is saying. Right. And remaining part has to be arranged with the help of private sector, public-private partnership. This is called as agro processing cluster. Now, these two schemes we have done, right? Now there is a third scheme. The third scheme, Bacho, is called as Operation Green. As you can see, it is called Operation Green. Obviously, it must be related to fruits and vegetables. So see, Operation Green started in India. Mind you, this word is very important. It started as an experimental scheme. Right. So Operation Green is an experimental scheme by Government of India. Slip of tongue. So in 2018-19, the Government of India said they're going to start Operation Green by giving budgetary allocation of rupees 500 crore for which crops? Tomatoes, onion and potatoes. I'll show you why. Later on, in 2021-22, why 21-22? Atmanirbhar Bharat during COVID. So 21-22, the government increased this tomato, onion and potatoes. Government said not only tomatoes, onion and potatoes, but 22 perishable crops, which is 22 fruits and vegetable, which means almost entire fruits and vegetable of India has been included, and government included the budget amount to 1000 crore rupees. Initially, it was also called as Operation Green, was also called as TOP. Why TOP? Because tomatoes, onion and potatoes. But now most of the fruits and vegetables are included, so it is also called as total. So we can say we have moved from TOP to total. What is the scheme? Let me show you. Guys, you can see in the picture, Maharashtra, farmers dump tomatoes on the roadside as prices crashed to 3 rupees a kg. I told you that India produces a lot of tomatoes, onion and potatoes. When there is bumper production, what happens? The price falls down, price crashes. So every year you can see that there is a crash in the price of tomatoes, 3 rupees a kg. What has the farmers done? Farmers were expecting 50 rupees a kg. They are getting 3 rupees a kg because of bumper production. What is the reaction of the farmer? They are disheartened. They are heartbroken. They throw the crops on the road and they commit suicides. And that's a very sad thing. Same thing has happened here. You can see Telangana, Andhra area. Same thing has happened. Farmers have thrown the crop. Let me take you to Punjab and see. Same thing has happened in case of potatoes. Which means if you go to various parts of India like Gujarat, Karnataka, Andhra, Odisha, Maharashtra, UP, Bihar and West Bengal and many states of India, you see that tomatoes, onion and potatoes are produced. When bumper production happens, price goes down to 1 rupee a kg, 2 rupee a kg. Farmer throws the crop and commits suicide. Why do farmers throw the crop? Cold storage not available, warehouses not available, transportation not available. If it is available, it is very costly. So farmers don't know where to go. And I gave you repeatedly a figure that out of all the farmers of India, suppose there are 100 farmers, 89.4% farmers of India are small and marginal farmers according to budget 2024. They are small and marginal. So what has the government done? Government has designed Operation Green from them. So I'll ask you a question, guys. Suppose I'm a farmer. I have bumper amount of tomatoes. Transportation is very costly, storage is very costly. What will you do for me to save my life? If you are the government of India, won't you come to me and tell me, farmer, don't worry, whatever is the cost of transportation and storage, why do I need storage? Perishable crop. So if I transport my crop from field to the cold storage and warehouse, for that I need transportation. And if I take my crop to the warehouse and cold storage, I need to pay rent. Don't you think that I need help in that? So the government has decided that they will tell the farmers to take the crop to cold storage and warehouse by using transportation facilities. And from the warehouse and cold storage, the farmers can release the crop slowly in the market. Because, bacho, if you release the crop at one go, prices will be very low. But if you release the crop slowly, prices are decent. So what has the government done? Government has told the farmers that farmers, you take your crop, whatever is the cost of transportation and whatever is the cost of storage for 3 months. Central government says that whatever is the cost of storage and transportation, 50% subsidy will be given by central government in transportation and 50% in storage. This has been told by Government of India that we will do it. Which is the implementing agency who is helping the Government of India in doing this for providing subsidy for transportation and storage? NAFED. Just remember the name, NAFED. So the central government provides subsidy to farmers for transportation and storage for 3 months, 50% subsidy. But this is a jugaad method because you can help me once, you can help me twice. But don't you feel that there should be more cold storage and warehouse so that the rent of cold storage warehouse comes down? There should be better transportation. Yes, yes. So in the long run, the central government is saying we will establish more warehouse, more cold storage, we will create more food processing industry. And they say that we will also improve quality testing and equipment. Which means that under Operation Green, 2 things are being done under Operation Green. First, short-term measures by giving subsidy for transportation and storage to the farmers to reduce farmer suicide. And I told you that if you store the crops in warehouse and cold storage for 3 months and then slowly release the crop, then farmer will get good price. And second is long-term measures. Under long-term measures, what are we doing? The Government of India is helping the farmers to create capacity building. What is capacity building? Increase the capacity of warehouse, cold storage, food processing industry, etc. So guys, overall, what is Operation Green doing? It is preventing distress sale and reducing post-harvest loss, right? Now, you can see there is one more scheme called a Scheme for Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprises. Look at the name of this scheme, guys. Scheme for Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprise. What is the date of the scheme? 2020. You remember the date 2020? COVID time. Yeah, exactly. Now, during COVID, I want to ask you a question. Who was affected during COVID? Answer is everybody. But who would be affected more? People with low income. They will be affected more. So Government of India during COVID wanted to help small industries by giving them more cash, by giving them better technology and machines. But government said, I don't know where my small industry is. So what did the Government of India do? Government of India said that let us create a scheme whereby we tell all the small food processing industries of India to register themselves and become formal. Once you become formal, Government of India will help you. So Government of India did a survey and found out that there are roughly 25 lakh food processing industries in India which are not registered, which are informal, unorganized in nature. So Government of India told them, please come forward, register yourself. Once you register yourself, then you will get the following help. What is the first help that you are getting? The first help is, if you are an existing micro means small. If you are registered and you are existing micro food processing enterprise, then government said, we will help you to upgrade your technology. You have a refrigerator which is very outdated. We'll give you better refrigerator. Or you want a new technology. The central government said that whatever be the money required to upgrade the technology or to bring new technology. So suppose 100 rupees is required to get new technology or upgrade the technology. So center said 35% out of this will be given as subsidy and remaining 65% as loan. But this 35%, it has a maximum limit of 10 lakh rupees. This type of scheme is called credit linked subsidy. What is credit linked subsidy? Credit means loan. So whenever you ask for loan from the government, a part of the loan is given as subsidy, remaining part as loan. But there is a maximum attached to it, which is 10 lakh rupees. That's number one. You have to memorize this for prelims, okay? Number two. So if this is owned by an individual or one or two people, then this is the facility. But many a times what happens is group of people come together. Let's say 20, 30 women of the village or men and women, they come together and create something called self-help group. So if you create a self-help group to become a food processing industry, self-help group, then Government of India will give you seed capital. What is seed capital? Seed capital is a money which you use to grow your business, start your business. So 40,000 rupees per member will be given by Government of India as a gift, and up to 4 lakh rupees per self-help group. So in the self-help group, for example, let's say there are 10 people. So everybody might get 40,000 rupees and maximum of 4 lakh rupees in the form of the group. Just memorize the figures. Now, third is that suppose guys, your faculty, which is me in this case, I am going to a place, let's say example, Bihar. I'm going to a place in Bihar. The name of that place is Darbhanga region. What is so special about Darbhanga region? There is a product called as makhanas or foxnuts which are grown there. So your faculty decides to go there and open a big place like this called as food processing facility. And what do I do in this facility? I create plug and play model. I will create basic machines, electricity, water, all these things, and small machines will be there. Then I will invite all the people who have makhanas and I'll tell them, you come and convert your makhanas into spicy and roasted makhanas, processed food. So to create this kind of facility, I need cash. So under this scheme, I can go to Government of India and tell them that, hey government, I'm creating this facility, please help me. So Government of India said that, okay, if you create common infrastructure, then Government of India will ask you that how much money do you require? So suppose I will say I require 100 rupees. So government says out of this 100 rupees, 35% will be given to you as subsidy, which means gift. Remaining 65% you will get as loan. And what is the maximum of this 35%? Up to 3 crore rupees. Which means if I go to the Government of India and tell that I want to create a common infrastructure whose price is 10 crore rupees, government says out of 10 crore, up to 35% as gift. What is 35% of 10 crore? 3.5 crore. Right? But government has told maximum 3 crore will be given, which means ideally I should have got 3.5 crore, but 3 crore will be given to me. If I demand 10 crore, 3 crore will be given to me as subsidy and remaining 7 crore as loan. And I can create this common facility. That's a good thing. And the next part is marketing and branding. So guys, don't you think that there are many products in India, local products, which have huge export potential? So Government of India says that for marketing them and taking it to global stage and foreign countries, government will bear the charges. So for food processing industry, that is called vocal for local. So under this scheme called as Scheme for Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprises, the Government of India is helping them through technology, through seed capital, through common infrastructure, and through marketing and branding. These are the facilities. Now, there is one more scheme by Government of India called as Production Linked Incentive Scheme for Food Processing Industry. So guys, what is the meaning of Production Linked Incentive Scheme? See, now Government of India launched this scheme from 2021. This scheme will continue till 2026. So see, 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. What is the scheme? Under the scheme, if you are a food processing industry, let's say you are this food processing industry, and what are you producing? Let's say you are producing this chocolate here. So the Government of India will come to you and ask you that what is the example? I'll give an example. The Government of India will come to you in 2022 and Government of India will ask you a question that can you please tell me that what is the value of sale of this chocolate in the year 2021? Which means that when you sold this chocolate in 2021, how much money did you collect? That is called as sale value or turnover. So suppose you said 100 crore. Then Government of India will ask you that what is the value of the machine? So suppose here you used a machine. What is the value of the investment? Machine, plant, equipment that you used here. Suppose 10 crore. Now the Government of India is saying that in the year 2022, right, what is the value of the sale? Which means when you sold chocolate, how much money did you collect? So you said 140 crore. Then government asked you that what is the increase in investment? You said 12 crore. Now Government of India will calculate something. Government will calculate, is there any increase in sale? So guys, can you please tell me, is there an increase in sale? Of course, yes. What is the increase in sale? 40 crores. And is there any increase in investment? Yes, the increase in investment is 2 crore. So what are the two things that have happened? Sale has increased, investment has increased. Whenever these two things will increase, the Government of India will decide and judge. Ministry of Food Processing Industry will decide and judge whether the increase in sale and increase in investment is good enough or not, according to their understanding, according to economic conditions. If they feel it is good enough, then you have qualified both condition 1 and 2. Once you qualify both the conditions, then you become eligible for production linked incentives. If you qualify only one condition or second, you are not eligible. You have to qualify both. It's like qualifying prelims and mains, then you get interview call. So once you qualify both, then Government of India will calculate something called as increase in sale. So what is the increase in sale? 40 crores. 40 crores. So what did first government do? First government calculated both increase in sale and investment. If you qualify both, then you become eligible for production linked incentive. Then government will calculate only the increase in sale part, 40 crore. Then government finds out, example, 10% of this, certain percentage is decided. Then they find out 10% of this 40 crore, which is 4 crore. Then 4 crore rupees is given to you as subsidy. That's called production linked incentive. So subsidy is always provided on the basis of increase in sale. But to qualify for this, you have to qualify both the conditions. So there are two eligibility conditions, but incentives are provided based on incremental sale only. Since in 2022, both the things are qualified, you get the PLI. Next year, in the year 2023, again same thing is checked. And next year, government will check your increase in sale and increase in investment by taking 2021 as base year. So this year is taken as base year. And in 2023, both these things are decided based on how you perform compared to base year. So every year, these conditions are checked and you get the subsidy. It's like college scholarship. If you top, let's say school scholarship, if you top standard 5th, then you get the scholarship. If you top standard 6th, you get the scholarship. But suppose in standard 7th, you don't top the exam, you don't get scholarship. In standard 8th, you top the exam, again you get the scholarship. Same thing is this. Now, Government of India, why is government doing this? Because Government of India feels that they have created a provision of 10,900 crore rupees as subsidy, which means all the food processing industries of India who qualify this, in total they will get 10,900 crore subsidy. And government is doing this because government feel that if government provides subsidy, in return, the industries can use this subsidy to get better quality raw material, better machines and increase the production. So if this subsidy is given to industries, industries will create further investment and there will be food worth 33,494 crore worth of processed food will be created. So government is saying if we give this much subsidy to industries, then more chocolates like this will be created whose value will be this much. And what is the extra employment created? Roughly around 2.5 lakh extra employment will be created. This is the expectation of Government of India. And what are the type of food items which are covered under production linked incentive scheme for food processing industry? 4 type of items. First, ready to eat or ready to cook food, right? So for example, this is ready to eat. Number 2, processed fruits and vegetable. I can give example. So this is your processed vegetables or fruits. Then there is marine products. You know, you can understand mozzarella cheese. Cheese is used for a lot of things, like starting from your cake to everything. So this is your production linked incentive scheme. Now, there is one more scheme, guys, called as PM Kisan Sampada Yojana. When did the government start this PM Kisan Sampada Yojana? You can clearly see it is relevant because the end year is 2026. So see, it is called PM Kisan Sampada Yojana. This scheme was launched in the year 2017. And government initially said that the scheme will be complete by 2020. But now they have again extended it to 2026. What is the government doing under this? I'll tell you. So what government is doing is, in the year 27, government launched the scheme called as Sampada. And they said that this scheme will run from 16 to 20 duration. But don't you feel that when the scheme was launched in 17, why have we mentioned 16? So we have mentioned 16 because the scheme would act retrospectively. In 17, it was announced, but the government said that the duration of the scheme will be considered to be retrospective 2016 to 20. Then the government said that government is ready to allocate 6,000 crore rupees for the scheme. But in the year 2020, government extended the scheme and said that now the scheme will continue till 2026 and the name has changed. Now it is not called Sampada, it is called PM Kisan Sampada Yojana, PMKSY. And extra 4,600 crore has been announced by the government, which means total 10,600 crore has been announced by Government of India under Kisan Sampada Yojana, under PM Kisan Sampada Yojana. What is this Kisan Sampada Yojana? So under Kisan Sampada Yojana, the government is trying to bring more food processing industry. The government is trying to provide better prices to the farmer, because when more food processing industry will come, the government will motivate them to give better price to the farmers. Then government is saying that we will try to make sure that more food processing industries and warehouses are set up in rural areas. So it will increase employment in rural area. Government wants to reduce wastage in agriculture because currently 30 to 35% food is wasted. Then government is saying I want to increase the processing level. Then government is saying that government wants to increase the export of the food. And for this scheme has been announced. Now, what are the components of the scheme? So you are smart, you would have understood what the government has done. So what the government has done is, government has taken all the previous and the new schemes under it, and government has said that there is this box. I'll tell you the concept of Kisan Sampada Yojana. There is this box. What did the government do? Remember I told you integrated cold chain, which year? 2007-8. So government took the cold chain scheme and put it here. Then remember agro processing cluster 2017. So government put agro processing cluster. Now food processing industry in general, food safety. Remember new labs have been announced by government, 100 new labs. So food lab, Operation Green 2018. Government put everything inside it and government said, I'm going to call this box as PM Kisan Sampada Yojana. Everybody told government, what is the need? Because these schemes already exist. Government said, what if one of the schemes is not able to function properly because of lack of fund and lack of support? So that is the reason that government has announced this scheme and government has said that 10,600 extra, this extra money has been kept aside by the government of India, and government is saying that whenever these schemes are operating, if they face any problem, government will take out this extra fund and government will give the fund to them and tell them that whatever extra support you require, it is available. So this box is called as PM Kisan Sampada Yojana. UPSC can ask you a question that what are the components of PM Kisan Sampada Yojana? Then you have to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 you have to memorize for UPSC prelims. This is the latest list. If you Google and if you go to even various government sites, they will not tell you 5, they will tell you 6, 7, 8, 9 components. But the other components have been removed from here or it has been merged inside one of the components. This is the latest as per the new economic survey and budget. If you read other sources, in fact even PIB gives some wrong information. They have mentioned 7, 8 components, but the current component is only 1, 2, 3 and 4. There have been changes. All right. Now, there are some miscellaneous things, basic concepts which I want you to understand. There is one term called as upstream. There is another term called as downstream. What is the meaning of upstream and downstream? Very simple, I'll tell you. Whenever you have to decide what is the meaning of upstream and downstream, you should ask the question upstream and downstream for whom? Since we are discussing food processing industry, so upstream and downstream has to be discussed from food processing industry's perspective. So first you create a food processing industry like this, right? You establish it. Then you ask yourself a question that who are the people who are going to give inputs to the food processing industry? Anyone who gives the inputs is called as upstream. And when the product is ready, so for example, this is an input. So anyone who provides this input is called upstream. But when the product is ready, anyone who helps you to sell the product ultimately to the consumer is called as downstream. So let's check at upstream and downstream related to food processing industry. What is the upstream? Raw material. Who provides the raw material? Farmer, FPO, cooperatives. What other inputs you require? Input doesn't only mean raw material. Input also means preservatives. It also means color. It also means tastes. So there are some chemicals which provides taste. All these things are required for this industry as input. Now, if you can arrange all the inputs properly, then your production will become smooth and there won't be any fluctuation in the production. So that's why upstream is very important. What is downstream? When your tomato ketchup is ready, what do you need? When it is ready, you package it, market it, distribute it through wholesaler and retailer, take it to the consumer. That's your downstream. So upstream, FPI, downstream. So this processing industry is included in downstream. Anybody who gives you input is included in upstream. Fine. Now, there is one last part which I want to discuss. Guys, you must have definitely gone to supermarkets, which are big stores where grocery items, fruits, vegetables are sold. Remember earlier there was this Big Bazaar, Reliance Fresh, etc. Right? These are called as supermarkets. So what is this supermarket and how does supermarket help in improving the farmers and improving overall the agriculture and food sector of India? What is the role of supermarket? By the way, do you know one thing? That these days the supermarkets are selling their product both online and offline. Yeah. So we should know what is a supermarket and what is it doing. See guys. So now there is a farmer. This supermarket like Big Bazaar or Reliance Fresh, what they do is they directly come to the farmer and they will buy these tomatoes. So middleman is not required. So exploitation of the farmer comes down. Now, if this happens, don't you think the farmer does not have to wait for minimum support price? Because not only tomatoes, but rice and wheat is also sold like this. And rice and wheat is covered under MSP. But hardly 6% of Indian farmers get the benefit of MSP. So now farmers don't have to depend on MSP. Without middlemen, they can sell their product. That's number one. Number two, when these supermarkets come to the farmer, they tell the farmer that farmer, either you already produce this, give it to me, or if you have not produced, then I am giving you the technology, etc. You produce a certain quality of tomato and certain quantity and certain size of tomato for me. Because this supermarket wants standard products. So they will sign contract with the farmer called as contract farming. And again, prices are fixed for the farmers. So that's one advantage for the farmer. Farmer is getting ready-made market and good price. Number two, when this supermarket comes to farmer, they don't buy 1 kg tomatoes. They will buy truck full of tomatoes. And when you buy bulk amount of items, the cost comes down. So this factory will buy huge volume, bulk. They will bring it and they will convert huge amount of tomatoes to tomato ketchup at one go. This is called as economies of scale. Scale means size and economies means reduce the cost. So when you increase the size of your factory, your cost of production goes down because same factory can be used multiple times. So when you buy high volume of products, your cost goes down. And third, I told you that this is the habit of the supermarkets, that they will have a standard size of the product, standard quality, standard quantity, and standard packets. Now, when these things are done by the supermarket, what do supermarkets do? Whole year they keep on buying raw material and they keep on selling it to consumers. So supply becomes even. And when supply does not fluctuate, inflation is also controlled. And number two, consumers get a lot of variety of products whole year at competitive prices. So prices are also normalized. I told you because they buy bulk. And quality of the product is also standardized. Either it will be like average quality, if not great, at least average quality for everyone. There is no discrimination. So what is the role of supermarkets in India? The role of supermarkets is that they procure huge quantity either directly from farmer or through contract farming, middlemen not required, and they also maintain standards. And similarly, they also help the consumers and they can sell their product both online and offline. In the process, they create a lot of employment also. What has Government of India done? Government of India for the food processing industry has created some rules. So suppose guys that today somebody in a foreign country wants to create food processing industry in India and they want to produce these kind of tomato ketchups in India. Can they produce it for production purpose only? Yes. 100% foreign direct investment is allowed through automatic route in FPI. So guys, for example, let's say a foreigner, let's say Mr. Bill Gates, he wants to open a food processing industry in India where he wants to convert these tomatoes into tomato ketchups within India. So Government of India says, you do not require any prior permission. Mr. Bill Gates, you directly come to India, inform the Government of India, take the land from the state government and start converting tomatoes into tomato ketchup. So for production part or manufacturing part, 100% foreign investment through automatic route, which means before coming to India, you don't need prior approval. But suppose you have already got it and you are trying to sell it through e-commerce or you are trying to trade in it. For trading part, the Government of India said that 100% FDI will be allowed, but through government route. Which means that if Microsoft wants to open e-commerce business in India and through e-commerce they want to sell the products, then Government of India says you can be given permission to open a e-commerce website or portal, but you first have to take the permission of the Government of India. So through government route you can. Government route means you first take the permission of Government of India. Automatic route means you do not take prior permission. First you come, you start looking for your project, you create the project report, then you inform the government. And here first you take the permission. So yes, in the field of food processing industry, 100% FDI is allowed, but in different way. For production in India, 100% FDI through automatic route, but for trading like e-commerce, etc., you get 100% FDI. Foreigners can also come in India and trade, but it has to be 100% through government route. So This completes our analysis on food processing industry in India, and we tried to cover it from the current affairs perspective. So hope you have learned the topic well. I would strongly suggest that you revise it and you, wherever possible, and if you feel like you can make some running notes out of it, use some diagrams that I have used here, and you can also refer to the handout that I have attached. All the best for your preparation. Thank you so much.